The council chamber of Vraxos Prime had never been designed with humans in mind. The seats were carved from obsidian stone, each one towering 3 meters high, built for the Vraxian species, a race of 8-foot warriors whose bodies were covered in armored scales and whose strength could shatter steel with bare hands. When Celine Varick entered the chamber, her boots clicking softly against the polished floor, she looked impossibly small beneath the vaulted ceilings that stretched into shadow. She walked alone, or so it seemed. Behind her, moving with the fluid grace of predators, came 12 Vraxian cubs. The youngest was barely 4 years old by human standards. The oldest perhaps 9. They moved in formation, their golden eyes fixed forward, their small claws clicking in rhythm with Selene's footsteps. At their head walked Tovik, a 6-year-old cub whose scales still held the soft bronze sheen of youth, but whose gaze carried something ancient and unshakable. The Council of Elders turned their massive heads as the procession entered. High Chancellor Vrex, his crimson scales marked with the white scars of 100 battles, leaned forward from his throne. Celine Varick, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. You stand accused of the greatest transgression in our culture. You have taken our young, our future warriors and filled their minds with weakness. You have taught them compassion when they should learn fury. You have shown them mercy when they should embrace dominance. You have made them soft. Celine stopped in the center of the chamber, directly beneath the Eye of Judgment, a circular opening in the ceiling where harsh sunlight poured down like an interrogator's spotlight. She did not flinch. She did not bow. I taught them to be strong, she said simply. A ripple of growls echoed through the chamber. Elder Cross, his black scales gleaming like polished onyx, slammed a fist against his armrest. Strong? You are human, a species so fragile that a fall from half your height can kill you. Your bones break under pressure our children could withstand. Your skin tears like paper. You call this strength? Celine tilted her head slightly, and the ghost of a smile touched her lips. Yes. Insolence, Elder Sithara hissed, her violet scales bristling. You dare. I dare, Celine interrupted, her voice calm but carrying through the vast chamber, because I know something you've forgotten. Strength isn't measured in scales or claws, or how much weight you can lift. Strength is what you do when everything in the universe is trying to break you, and you refuse to stay broken. High Chancellor Vrex's eyes narrowed. Empty words from a weak species. Your kind would have gone extinct millennia ago, if not for your technology machines to do what your bodies cannot. You hide behind metal and plasma, because flesh alone makes you prey. Perhaps, Celine acknowledged. But we're still here, aren't we? Despite being prey. Despite being soft. Despite every predator in the galaxy looking at us like a meal, we're still here, standing in your council chamber, teaching your children, walking on worlds that should have killed us 1,000 times over. She paused, letting her words settle. Tell me, Chancellor, is that weakness? Before Vrex could respond, a small voice cut through the tension. She is not weak. Every head in the chamber turned. Tovik had stepped forward, moving to stand beside Celine. His small frame barely reached her hip, but he stood with his spine straight, his young voice unwavering. Tovik, Elder Cross roared. Return to formation. She is not weak, Tovik repeated, louder this time. And she did not make us soft, she made us understand. The other cubs moved forward as one, forming a protective semicircle around Celine. Their eyes, all 24 of them, reflected the light from above like burning stars. High Chancellor Vrex's expression darkened. Explain yourself, young one. Choose your words carefully. Tovik's claws flexed once, a nervous gesture, but his voice remained steady. Last season, during the survival trials in the scorched wastes, my unit encountered a nest of razor vipers. Standard doctrine: charge forward, eliminate the threat with overwhelming force, but Teacher Celine stopped us. He looked up at her, and something like reverence flickered in his golden eyes. She made us observe, made us think. The vipers were protecting eggs. They weren't hunting, they were defending. She showed us that true strength means knowing when not to fight. Cowardice, Elder Sithara spat. You should have destroyed the threat. We marked the nest and took an alternate route. Tovik continued, ignoring the interruption. 2 days later, a Crethean war party came through that same canyon. They charged the nest. The Vipers killed 3 of their warriors and injured 5 more. Their unit was broken, scattered. His eyes swept across the council. We completed our trial without a single casualty, because Teacher Celine taught us that intelligence is a weapon sharper than any claw. Another cub stepped forward, a small female named Rissa, her scales still soft gray. She taught us that protecting the weak doesn't make you weak, it makes you responsible. When my clutch brother broke his leg during combat training, standard protocol was to leave him behind while he healed. Teacher Celine showed us how to create a support system. We carried him, we adapted. We finished the exercise together, and we finished faster than any unit working alone. One by one, the cubs spoke. Stories of lessons learned. Of survival strategies that went beyond brute force. Of understanding that strength could be found in unexpected places. They spoke of a human who ran alongside them during endurance training. Her fragile lungs burning. Her weak legs trembling. Yet refusing to quit even when cubs twice her size collapsed from exhaustion. They spoke of hands that could not tear steel but could mend wounds with impossible precision. They spoke of a mind that saw solutions where Vraxian instinct saw only obstacles to crush. High Chancellor Vrex listened in silence. When the last cub finished speaking, the chamber fell quiet save for the whisper of wind through the eye of judgment. Finally, the Chancellor spoke. Celine Varick, you have heard the testimony of those you taught. The Council will now deliberate on— No, Tovik interrupted. The word hung in the air like a thrown blade. No? Vrex's voice dropped to a dangerous rumble. Tovik's scales rippled a Vraxian gesture of absolute conviction. With respect, High Chancellor, there is nothing to deliberate. Teacher Celine is accused of making us weak. We stand before you as proof that she did the opposite. She taught us to think like warriors, not just fight like animals. She showed us that adapting is not surrender, it is evolution. And if the Council cannot see that— He drew himself up to his full height. All 3 feet of it. Then perhaps it is the Council that has grown weak, comfortable, afraid of change. The chamber exploded with roars of outrage. Elders rose from their seats. Guards stepped forward. But Celine raised a hand, and somehow, impossibly, the gesture commanded attention. He's right, she said quietly, but her voice carried. You asked me to teach your young. I taught them what humanity learned in blood and fire across 10,000 years of history. That the strong survive not because they refuse to change, but because they change faster than everything trying to kill them. She looked directly at High Chancellor Vrex. Your ancestors conquered this world with strength. But it will be these cubs, with their minds as sharp as their claws, who will carry your species to the stars. Silence stretched. The High Chancellor's expression was unreadable. Then, slowly, Vrex stood. His massive frame cast a shadow that engulfed half the chamber. Celine Varick, he said. And his voice held something that might have been respect. You are either the greatest teacher our people have ever known, or the most dangerous influence we have ever allowed into our society. He paused, his ancient eyes studying her. Perhaps you are both. He raised one clawed hand. The charges are dismissed. Not because we agree with your methods, but because the results speak louder than our traditions. You will continue teaching, but know this, human, you have set these cubs on a path that may change our entire civilization. If that path leads to glory, you will be honored. If it leads to ruin, then I'll stand beside them in the ashes, Celine said without hesitation. That's what the strong do. They don't abandon their pack when the storm comes. They hold the line. Tovik looked up at her, and in that moment, something passed between human and Vraxian cub, an understanding that transcended species, culture, and biology. She placed a hand on his shoulder, her fragile fingers resting on his armored scales. Good answer, little champion, she murmured. As they left the council chamber, the cubs formed their protective semicircle around Celine once more. To the elders watching from their thrones, it might have looked like children following a teacher, but High Chancellor Vrex saw the truth in their formation, in their synchronized movements, in the way they positioned themselves to shield her from any threat. It was not children following a teacher. It was warriors protecting their general. And perhaps, he thought as the chamber doors closed behind them, that Human had taught them the most important lesson of all. That true strength was not found in standing alone at the top of the food chain. It was found in standing together, even when, especially when the universe called you weak.